Alright everyone, hello and welcome onto this evening's stream. I'm going to give everybody a second to hop online and join the stream here, but I hope everybody is doing well. And we're going to go ahead and get right into the content here momentarily. So, welcome on. We'll see who's on here in just a second. But everything should be working correctly here. Alright, it's looking like everything is setting up as planned. I've got my volume turned up on my phone. I put it in my ear, or put it to my ear, I should say, and it does sound like I am live right now. So you're taking a look at future radar here on Radar Omega right now. That's what you're looking at on your screen actively at this point. And what we've got going on right now is we've got a little clipper system that's going to be exiting parts of the Great Lakes region right now. So let's go ahead and kind of head on over. And we're going to go ahead and kind of take a look at what's going on right now on screen. Here we go. Let's go on over now to this. And we're going to be doing this. Here we go. Now you're live looking at Weather Bell Maps here. You can get a free trial for it. I did do a comment where you can get that free trial. But we're taking a look just at Q&A. A look ahead at kind of what we've got going on as we head into February as well. So this is going to be a very relaxed stream here. And, you know, we're going to get into all the content, though, and what we've got going on coming up as we head over the next several days. So here we go. Let's zoom in on the eastern United States here and kind of play out what we've got going on. We have got this little clipper system, and you can see here, this is really what's indicative of a clipper system. You see these blue lines right here. This is where we've got that polar jet kind of diving on down, a little bit of colder air, being allowed to kind of sink on down into parts of the north central United States here at this point. And you can see here we've got a little bit of very light precipitation tonight that's going to make its way on into parts of Appalachia overall. One, this is light. Two, the only snow we're getting out of this is right here in the Appalachians. Maybe a brief period of some light snow there into parts of northern Ohio as well. So we'll kind of monitor what happens with all of this. At this point, though, this is not looking like it's any sort of big event over this region. Here we go. I'm going to continue to step this forward. As we make our way overnight tonight, the timestamps there are going to be on the top left side of your screen throughout this stream. This is as we head towards 4 a.m. tonight. Pretty much a lot of this precipitation now sinking down into parts of Georgia, South Carolina, as well as western North Carolina. Again, this is mostly light rain, not much snow out of this. This is a very relaxed system, and then it moves out of here. Okay, this is a very quick and brief system, and let's head on over to the west coast now, not the upper Midwest. That's what I accidentally clicked on there, because that's where our next problem is about to move onshore. We've got a big rainmaker that's about to hit the California coastline at this point. This is going to bring some very heavy precipitation, and it is going to bring some high elevation snowfall as well, too. So keep that in mind. Here we go. Let's continue to play this out through our Wednesday and into our Thursday. We'll see, on our Wednesday, we'll see some precipitation hit parts of the Pacific Northwest, but it's really what's going to begin to hit parts of California here that's concerning. Up there into parts of northwestern California along the coastline there, and then into the higher elevations there, the northern Sierra Range. You can see the high elevations up here into far northern California as well. This is some heavy snow kind of along that little backwards L shape that I just drew there. And you can see that snow continues as this system continues. So this is a pretty feisty setup that we've got going on here. And then eventually, as we make our way Thursday and into our Friday, we see lingering moisture continue there along the west coast. But we also, look at this, we get a lot of pretty moderate to heavy snow here, developing over the Four Corners back on up there into parts of the Mountain West as well. So we're going to see a lot of precipitation fill on in as this system moves on in. And this is our next system that we have to watch further east. Right now, I don't see any big changes to the forecast from what I've been talking about the last few days. But what I can tell you is even into our, the Saturday of our weekend here, we've got a big zone, terrible circle, but you get the point. We've got a big zone of some snow here that's going to break out. It's going to stretch probably from Idaho all the way on down there into parts of the Four Corners. So this is going to be some pretty decent snowfall. We've got EPTV music. No snow for Tennessee, please. Yeah, well, we'll answer all your questions on the stream as well. This is a Q&A stream. Howdy. Have had 2 gorgeous days here in Central Florida and even chemtrail-free. Yeah, gorgeous days in Central Florida. That's good to hear. Anyway, we've got, snow, again, back into the Mountain West as we make our way into our Saturday. And that continues. So let's kind of continue to, let's look at how much rain is about to hit the west coast out of this atmospheric river, because this is a pretty gnarly setup. And let's go to precipitation total, and let's take a look at how much rain we are going to be indeed seeing there along that west coast zone. And here's how much rain the Euro is predicting to come on shore here as we make our way over the next 90 hours. So this is as we head through Saturday into the midday time frame. And some of these numbers are a little bit concerning here, if not quite concerning, especially up here, right along those immediate shoreline zones, and then on up there again into the higher elevations of Northern California. I think Northern California is going to be hit the hardest out of the system as we're looking at it right now. On down there, though, closer to Los Angeles and on down to San Diego as well, some of these spots picking up a couple of inches of rain. But again, the highest totals there are going to be along that northwest California coastline there. Where locally wouldn't rule out picking up, say, 4, 5, 6 inches of rain. So in terms of the amount of rain that we could get up there, again, up there into Eureka, California, these are going to be some of the areas near Redding, all these zones on down to Sacramento and San Francisco. This is where some of that rain is going to be the heavier on the heavier side of things. But we're doing a Q&A stream here, so this is going to be kind of a little bit more relaxed. We've got Exodus Jackson in the chat telling me he is watching from Columbia, South Carolina, wanting a snowstorm. Well, let's go talk about the southeast and the potential for the snowstorm out of this same system, because it's not out of the question, but it is on the lower side of things. So let's go ahead and head on over there and look at this. A couple days ago, the snow signal was quite strong in the GEFS ensemble run. And let's take a look at what this does in the Euro. So this is what we get with the Euro. I think we're going to have some pretty strong showers and thunderstorms kind of ride the Gulf Coast here. And this zone right here is going to be subject to seeing some stronger storms out of the system as it makes its way through that region, okay? But, overall, this system kind of stretched out due to high pressure that's to the north. And as I continue to kind of step this forward, you can just see a lot of rain. And you can see it's all tying around with this low. We've got a low here, low here. The Euro is showing 4 different 1,000 millibar or less lows, pretty much. But what you notice is there's just not much snow breaking out in that storm, and the only places it does so are, you guessed it, right here in western North Carolina, there in Appalachia. So unfortunately right now the Euro shows that. But if we go on over here now, and I want to take a look at that GFS ensemble, because we can look at the same setup here. I just don't want anybody to let their guard down as the storm kind of spins around. But the overwhelming trend has been that there's not going to be snow in this. But if this storm lasts into our Tuesday, there might be just enough cold air to penetrate this to where some sort of light snow may break out. I think anywhere here through Georgia and the Carolinas, all the way on up there into parts of Pennsylvania and New Jersey, all these areas, you might get it. It might get a brief shot of snow, but this is not a snowstorm by any stretch of the imagination. And I'm not going to sit here and we're not going to look at like extra models and stuff to tell you that it's going to be a snowstorm. The other day when I showed it, I can show you what I showed you the other day pretty much when we looked at this. I can look at what this was looking at yesterday. I mean, look at the difference between yesterday and today. Yesterday the snow signal was showing pretty much all of the Carolinas and into Virginia. Now it's showing this puny little area at this point of, maybe South Carolina and Georgia. And again, I don't like to look at locations this far out. I just like to look at this breaking out. I do think someone's going to see some snow if the system's here into Tuesday morning breakout. But again, you notice these red lines. This is indicating that we've pretty much got above freezing temperatures. It's warmer. These blue lines up here confined further north. This just is not the good setup. And this would be a northeastern U.S. snowstorm probably if the low went like that. But the low is pretty much riding along like this and heading straight out into the open waters. So for you, Exodus Jackson, watching me there again in Columbia, South Carolina, I wouldn't rule out a brief little period of some snow to wrap this storm up. But I just don't see that being an overwhelming possibility or trend at this point. And, it was a higher probability a couple of days ago when I was talking about it more in my video then. And yesterday I still touched on it, but we talked a little bit more about the overall rain. We talked about Mountain West snow being the main thing out of this storm. And, I look around and I see people. I'm not going to call out any channels directly or anything, but I see people looking at like Canadian model and like the icon model until they can find one run. It might not even be the most recent one where it shows just a snowstorm breaking out here over eastern Carolinas and over here in the western Carolinas too, and over there in Pennsylvania and New Jersey, and it's just not realistic. Okay, I mean, I tell you, my thumbnails, I won't deny the fact that I lured people in a little bit with those thumbnails telling us that we've got this, potential for snow. But the furthest these little ensembles are going now is to show a small area of snow breaking out closer to the mountains at this point. So overall, again, this is as we go Monday and into Tuesday would be the best chance for something to break out. At this point, I just don't see anything major coming out of this. But again, it's a very great question, and it's a very great hope for this storm. And the chances are not done yet. If we get these blue lines up here, again, you can see them up there. If we get these further south, essentially what that does is that allows this whole area to break out with a snowstorm, if there's even enough moisture in place. But you get everything I'm saying here. I'm continually listing a bunch of different possibilities and things that have to go out and happen correctly, because there's a lot of stuff that has to happen exactly correctly for there to be a southeast snowstorm. Obviously, we've gotten our snowstorm pretty much in someone's in this zone has seen a snowstorm, but down here into central Alabama, central Georgia, pretty much along this line, right through here, it's been kind of a lacking winter so far, in my opinion, and through a lot of the country, to be honest with you. The Northeast has gotten a little bit more than some might argue that they would have expected there, though. But I mean, I can take a look at the probabilities here, and let's do that. Let's go to the probabilities of winter. Let's go to total snow of an inch or greater. And here's what we got. Here's your probabilities as we go through this event. And this is the chance of an inch of snow or more. And again, it's about 10 to 20%, and that's actually gone down a little bit. So the chances of that has gone down since a couple days ago when I made that video about this being a little bit more of a higher chance. So to be honest with you, I think the bigger snow that we kind of look at this point out of this system is what's coming the next few days over there closer to the west coast, with all that snowfall there. I mean, it's going to be a lot of snow. Let's look at the snowfall over the next 5 days in the west. I really want to do that. Let's go take a look. And I mean, you can see again the ensemble's just so spread out on this right now, the southeast snowstorm. What they're not spread out on, though, look at all this coming to the west. This is as we go through Tuesday of next week. I mean, Sierra Nevada range easily pushing 5 feet there. Northern California, this system obviously bringing very dangerous wind in the near term with this system that we've got right going on in the next few days. And then just a lot of snow into the rest of the Mountain West here, just filling on in. That is a lot of snow. Mountains of Idaho getting a lot, foot plus. Same deal here in northern Utah. Same deal here west of Denver, there into the Rockies. It's a pretty big event of snow on the way there. Again, can't say the same thing for the rest of the country. Now, one thing that's a little interesting about this system that's bringing all this snow to the west here, and let's take a look at this. Let's do continental United States. Here we go. Again, so this is the GEFS ensemble snowfall through Wednesday next week. I mean, I don't want anybody to ignore the fact that there's a small zone showing gray down here. It still wouldn't rule out a snowstorm down here in the southeast. I just don't see one. A big signal, I just don't see one out of this next system. But again, that would be Monday and Tuesday if that does happen. But let's head back over to the Euro model now, because we want to take a look at what's going on here with our next system, which is this one. Obviously the one I've been talking about, only the snow side. Let's talk about other aspects of the storm. So again, we've got Clipper system moving out right now. Pretty much what's going on at this point, we've got, huge zone of warmer than average temperatures embedding itself in the central part of the country. There's that atmospheric river heading the west in the near term. Again, I'm really worried about mountain issues, the mudslide, landslide concerns that we get there in California. Really worried about that. I'm out of this atmospheric river and the potential for close to a half a foot of rain up here into northwest California along the coastline there. Okay, really worried about that, as well as the heavy Sierra snowfall. Then this moves into the rest of the Rockies, and man, high elevations, this is going to be a rocker with the snow, with the wind. Just a nasty storm there. But notice, this is the furthest we go out with this run of the Euro. We start to see this eject out into the plains as we go Friday night into Saturday. Could we see some stronger showers and storms on the severe side of things? Wouldn't rule that out here over parts of Kansas and on there into Oklahoma and eastern Texas as well. So just think about that possibility. And I can look at the severe weather parameters here and those options. This is your lightning flash rate as this is ongoing. And you notice there in eastern Texas, especially in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and on the just southward of there, we do have that little signal of a little bit of shower and thunderstorm coverage out of this next system. So I wouldn't completely rule out the potential for some stronger storms. But if we go onto the 12Z Euro, this is from earlier today now. Again, notice those storms. I think as we go Saturday and into Sunday, we could see some stronger storms close to the Gulf Coast here. And again, if you're getting a storm that's bringing severe weather up into Mississippi, central Alabama, and Georgia, which this one probably isn't doing, but at least some thunder potential like this is showing, that far north, thunder potential as far north as Atlanta, can you really trust the potential for snow to wrap up this system somewhere? I mean, it's the southeast. It's not the plains. And we'll also watch storms that could move across Florida Sunday. But if we're highlighting an overall zone that could see some severe weather here, it's kind of like so. But again, it's very marginalized. This is a very weak severe weather event potential. But it is an existent potential. So just keep that in mind. Again, we're looking at Weather Bell Maps. Your free trial link is in the description. And in one of my earlier comments on this. But this is a really weird setup. Because we've got high pressure here and below this low pressure system, which is sliding through right here. And as this kind of squeezes on through, it's going to be forced into the southeast. And the reason the northern piece of this energy, you can see it back here, into parts of the Mountain West, and this is why this lingers in the Mountain West for so long. This low here over the plains is going to bring showers and storms to parts of the plains, but it is just going to do nothing but die out. Okay? Watch it do so. Everything ends up relying on whatever lows get going here, or pieces and attachments of lows get going into the southeastern United States, because of all this ridging, this high pressure ridging here, pretty much boxing this whole area out. It's like a high pressure box in a way. And everything is stuck here in the Mountain West. That's why there's a prolonged snow event here. And then the rest of that system squeezes under this as a rain, shower, and storm event into the southeastern United States. And again, continue to play it out. Notice how, that piece of energy, then the highs kind of up here and it moves over into Maine. So that little area of snow moves into southern Canada. Doesn't look like it's going to graze much of the Dakotas and Minnesota. And then after that, we watch kind of what's next. And after this, so we've talked about atmospheric river, we've talked about the pieces of this system as it heads east. What could be next? Here we go, we're at Friday, February 9th. This is the furthest I can go out with this Euro run, and this is looking far away, and 10 days out. This shows, and it's very hard to see here, I've been talking about this all stream with the blue lines being important for kind of showing you where that cold air is. This shows those blue lines going like this. And this shows a little bit more troughing, trying to move into the central U.S. and push any ridging here in the eastern U.S. this way. So once we kind of get out of this, omega pattern, omega block, once we try and get out of this, again here, let me show you what pattern we're in now. Notice how this low gets elongated because of the high pressure ridge that's right here. It will not budge. It's warmer than average over the north central United States. But as we go down the line, and this is just looking, I think sometime between around, I know this is a little broad, between the 9th and the 14th or 15th of February, something pretty big's going to get going here. Now, I'm not saying a winter storm. I'm not saying anything winter related. I'm just saying a big storm system might get going right here. And if it does, that has that potential to go like this. But it's not this storm that would be significant. It would be the cool air it brings behind it that could last for the rest of February based on the trends we're looking at right now. Drop any questions you have in the chat. Don't forget to subscribe. Just wanted to throw that in there real quick. But we just have to kind of watch what happens as we head later in the month. Let's look at the European ensemble. And I want to show you what it's showing as we go with time. And it kind of, you see these greens pushing on down. This isn't a good map to look at. I want to show you the temperature anomalies here. And we're going to take a look kind of, surface temperatures, 2M anomaly, here we go. Here we go, now we're on it. Okay, again, ensembles just, I mean, we got much warmer than average conditions going on at this point for a huge chunk of the northern U.S. right now. But as we extend this out further, here we go. I mean, we get warm ridging. This is as we go, say, 240 hours out. And this is kind of what I was showing to you here. There was that storm system that was kind of trying to get its act together with a little snow here and a little rain here, 240 hours out in the Euro. And again, that's very far away. But at that point, we kind of go away from having the warmest of the air here, and that warmest air is now centered over the eastern United States. So this takes the this takes the eastern United States out of a snowstorm pattern temporarily. So if you don't get snow out of what's going to try and do something here Monday and Tuesday and probably won't do so and probably won't produce, this is going to be what could bring the next longer term favorable pattern. It's this cooler air back towards the Mountain West. And notice that tries to penetrate, and eventually with time, by February 14th, those Euro ensembles show enough of it getting under to where we're a little bit below average over here. And I know when you think of cold and snow, you're kind of looking for extreme deep blues and purples and Arctic blasts and pink. That's not what this necessarily is. But this might actually be better if you want snow because it's not so cold that the air is dry. And I can show you percentile precipitation. Let's do this. Sorry, I just recently got Weather Bell maps, which they're awesome. But I mean, when this cold air is in place, these Euro ensembles. Oh, this is the latest one, the latest run. When this cold air gets in place, look at where precipitation is being shown. Again, this is as we go to February 14th. I'm not any genius here, but it shows a lot of precipitation over the southeast United States. So if, and I mean if, this sets up the way this is showing now, I think mid to late February could be our better chance for a lot of the eastern United States to start filling in with a little bit more of a snowstorm chance. So this is kind of what we're looking at towards mid to late February. Let me know if you have any questions on the current pattern and the February pattern here, okay? Just let me know. But this is showing you, this is 72-hour precipitation. It's showing, ensemble consensus is showing from February 12th through 14th, a solid half an inch to an inch being an average there. And we don't know what type of precipitation this is. We can check here and take a look at winter options and see what this is showing in terms of snowfall at that point. That's not what we want because this is looking at a new model now. Here we go. Let's take a look all the way out that far. Let's take it all the way out. And you try and you get the snow this far south, but you just don't. So right now I don't think it's time to be excited about anything. I do think February will turn cooler and potentially snowier later on. But right now, you got to bank on pretty much the West Coast being the area for bigger snowstorms and just systems in general. And maybe Monday and Tuesday you'll salvage something down here into the Carolinas. But again, I've got some new stuff coming on in the chat. Will spring come early this year? That's a great question. And to be honest with you, we can take a look now at some extended ensembles and kind of take a look at seasonal predictions here from some of these different graphics. Temperature anomaly. So this is as we go through February. Again, this is our temperature anomaly map as we go through February using the European. And again, what you kind of see here, it's warmer than average over a lot of the east right now. But if this was just created, this is being created this graphic, when did this come out? This came out actually at the start of January, this European run did, because they come out at the start of every month. So we'll get a new one here on this first day of February. But just keep in mind, if there's a lot of warm air over the east right now, and this is showing average conditions, right? With time, you got to believe cold air is going to level the playing field. And that's why, I think mid to late February is a better bet just for everyone. But if we play this out further, here we go into March. And this is as we go, obviously, into kind of trying to enter spring. It looks like it could be warmer than average over a decent chunk of the country, especially the Northwest. This is, again, European seasonal model. This is just one projection. And it pretty much shows, one thing I don't like about these seasonal projections, seasonal prediction models, they always show warmer than average temperatures. So I don't really like any of them. So spring could come early, but it's a little early to just say anything like that outright. Let's see what other questions we got in the chat. Okay. Leave any questions you got in the chat, everyone. Any weather-related questions. Love to answer them for you. I love to answer those weather questions for you. And we can just start from the top right now. Got a lot more viewers on now than I did at the start of the stream, that's for sure. This is what we got going on right now. We've got a clipper system impacting parts of the Ohio Valley, but it's now really kind of exiting there. Snow for southern Appalachia tonight, that's it. Then that moves out. Next problem is this atmospheric river in the west. Very high winds here into mountain areas, mountainous zones. Really concerned about that. Concerned about Sierra snow, very heavy snow, foot plus. In fact, multiple feet of snow in the Sierras. This is as we go into our Thursday and into our Friday here. And then look at how that, again, a lot of snow in high elevations of the west. In fact, it's pretty snow dominated. Which model is the most accurate, European or American? I mean, just based on what I'm looking at now, you can probably get that I like the European a little more. I mean, European model is the reason that people have to pretty much pay for different weather services and things, like this awesome one right here, Weather Bell, free trial link in the description. And the European model essentially is not free, and it is a very good model at the same time, so keep that in mind. The European model, the GFS is the American model. It's free, produced by the National Weather Service. So if I had to say, I like the European a little bit more, but GFS is not bad at all. But yeah, European, you're going to have more options too, like look at the severe weather and we can see lightning flash, and take a look. A chance for some thunderstorms, right? Late Friday night into Saturday morning down here over Oklahoma and southeast Texas. What is the difference in the models? Great question as well. Me being a learning meteorologist myself, I'm not like a 100% expert. But GFS is your American model, Global Forecasting System is what it stands for, whereas European is European Center for Medium Range Weather Forecasts, ECMWF. That's why it says ECMWF, deterministic, on the top left side of your screen right now. European model, there's not really a difference between what they produce necessarily. They both have their ensembles that go out further. You can get seasonal outlooks as well from the collection of these models. But the models themselves, there's not much different. Like, I can take a look right now at sea level pressure for 90 hours out on the Euro, and here's what that GFS looks like for the same thing. I mean, we can pretty much do the same thing with both models. And these graphics, man, I could look at these all day. I love looking at graphics like this. MJO update. Let's see if we can do that. Just a second here. Let me pull this up. I don't know if we can do that one on here. Let's take a look. Yeah, we can't do that one on here. Yeah, Yeah, I don't have an update on that right now. I'm sorry. That's the one we were just looking at. I think that was Arctic, maybe? Arctic oscillation. Spring will be busy across the upper Midwest. Yeah, early to say. Let's look at this. CFS, seasonal. And let's look at temperature, or let's look at precipitation. Monthly precipitation anomaly going into March, into April. Yeah, I mean, looks like it's going to be pretty active, especially further south with that El Nino jet. Okay. That's for sure. El Nino jet's going to keep everything kicking further south. Don't forget to leave your questions in the chat, everyone. Best way to support the channel is with the little $sign in the chat box for super thanks. Definitely not necessary, but that is the most direct way if you do ever want to do that. Back on over now. I mean, again, and this is what's kind of... I want to go back forward. Sorry, I'm kind of jumping around. Here we go. This is what I want right here. Heard El Nino could turn neutral in the spring. Oh, yeah. El Nino will definitely not hold strong forever. I do agree with that. In fact, just a second here. Let's pull something up. Just a second here. We're pulling up Climate Prediction Center information. Yeah, INSO neutral, which is the El Nino and La Nina kind of in the middle of the two, is expected to continue starting in April through June. So it's favored for April through June. So keep that in mind. But it does say El Nino is expected to continue for the next several seasons. And that was as of 11th of January. So let's read this whole thing, why don't we? I'm reading directly off Climate Prediction Center's website right now. Above average sea surface temperatures persisted across the equatorial Pacific Ocean, with the largest anomalies observed in the central and east central Pacific. Latest weekly Nino index values remain at plus 1.4 degrees Celsius. area average positive subsurface temperature anomalies decreased in December, reflecting the strengthening and eastward expansion of below average sea surface temperatures, or subsurface, temperatures in the western Pacific. Some of the state-of-the-art dynamical climate models suggest a transition to ENSO neutral as soon as March through May. Climate Prediction Center forecast team, however, delays this timing and strongly favors a transition to ENSO neutral in April through June of 2024. Also, increasing odds now of La Nina following that. So you're exactly right, Emmanuel, in the chat. We're pretty much going ENSO neutral summer, and then by this upcoming next winter, probably back to La Nina based on this. It is typical, again, for El Nino to peak in December and early January. But again, the effects of this will continue through April, which is why, again, when I was showing you that precipitation anomaly map a minute ago, and we're just sitting on a graphic right now while I talk and read, but that's why when I was showing you that a minute ago, that's why it showed a lot of more precipitation over the south central. It's probably going to be a pretty active spring, especially over the southern United States, and that would bring to my attention the potential maybe for some increased severe weather events, or at least some flooding, to say the least, over the southern United States as we head into the spring. So we'll keep that in mind. But again, yeah, El Nino is definitely set to fall and give way to neutral by summer, and then La Nina as we head towards next winter. Now let's go back to this. Okay. Now you can see my weather bell screen again. And again, this is as we go into this weekend, there's that low sliding on into the southern United States. And again, could we see snow along here? Possibly. Is the chance high? No. Chance is not high. I'll keep you updated though. Again, let's look at those ensembles through the rest of February. And we're going to answer some more questions. How bad will the tornado season be for you up in the upper Midwest? I don't want to say anything exact about your tornado season yet. Obviously, spring looks to be favoring areas further south right now. So I do think your chances will increase up there in Wisconsin closer to summer. If they do. Let's go back to temperatures. Surface temperatures. Aha. Here we go. Hey, Project Gladiator, how are you doing? Hope you're doing great. I'm glad to see you in the chat. Let's go to Euro Weeklies. Yeah, this is what we want. Again, so right now it's just warmer than average, dominated over the north central. But this is what I'm telling you. Once we get, mid-February, there's all this cold air that from the 10th through the 17th, this is what we're looking at right now, that will just be locked up here in the western United States. Yeah, I'm putting my hand down on the table because I know it's going to be there. I'm telling you, this cold air is going to be in the west. Entering the west, the more of these atmospheric rivers we get, the more of this cold air is just sitting here and waiting around, okay? And eventually this ridging over here, over the Great Lakes, it's got to give way. I mean, you can't have a omega blocking high pressure system sitting here for 20 days, 30, 40 days. I mean, it's just not typical. And you just see that cold air settle in. So by the time we go through the 15th through the 22nd, that whole East Coast zone fills in with slightly below average temperatures. And this is not well below average, but this is a signal that we at least get closer to average or at least a little cooler. So again, I think once we get towards mid to late February, that's when things really light up with that. I'm doing great, Project Gladiator. Glad to hear you're doing good. Yeah, y'all go check out his channel right now if you haven't checked it out already. Sorry, that was a little bit bold of a demand, but he does really good in-depth breakdowns, especially if you like those gets a lot more into the nitty-gritty stuff than I do. So if you want to kind of hear the science behind the forecast that I talk about here at One Nation Weather, go on over there and check out Project Gladiator weather forecasts. I strongly recommend that. But again, this is as we go all the way into March, and these Euro ensembles continue showing the worst of that cold air being locked up in the west, some of it further east. Now remember, this is anomaly cold. This is not actual cold. So what this means is that it's, say 5 degrees below average. If it's 5 degrees below average, that might mean if your average is 45 right now in February, then it's going to be 40. But if it's 55 in March, then it's going to be 50. So you got to keep that in mind too. That anomalous cold needs to be stronger for it to be as cold as winter level temperatures the further you go into spring, if that makes sense. So that was a little bit of a tongue twister what I just said there. But, we get the point. But yeah, any other questions you got in the chat, anyone? I'd love to hear them. Don't forget to please hit that subscribe button while you watch the stream if you're new to the channel. It really helps me out here, and just expands reach on the channel, gets you informed with new weather forecasts. And if you want to get exactly notified when I do post those, hit the notification bell. What website and models do I use for climatology long distance forecasts? Great question. I'm right now on WeatherBell. WeatherBell, maps.weatherbell.com is what we're on right now. I have actually a free trial link. I recently got on in touch with them actually. So if you want to get their free trial link, you can go on down into the it's in my description. I put it in a comment further up in this chat as well, but it's also in the description. WeatherBell's trial is there. I use Tropical Tidbits all the time on up to now, and it pretty much suffices for all of that anyway. But I mean, there's a lot of different options here on what we're looking at now. I can look kind of close into the future with different models, and right now we're looking at European extended models. So this is as we go March 3rd through 10th. And that's what we're looking at right now. So you can look pretty far into the future, assuming you believe you're very confident in these ensembles and showing what they're showing with this right now with the colder than average air. But I do believe it's going to be pretty anomalously cold in the west, pretty consistently over the next little while, for the foreseeable future, I think, starting pretty much in the next few days with the atmospheric river event there. We can talk about how windy it's going to get in the near term out of that. Let's go to the west. National Digital Forecast Database. But I mean, WeatherBell's going to give you anything from short-term National Weather Service products. You can look at Storm Prediction Center products, National Digital Forecast Database. You can look at wind gusts. I mean, Euro, GFS, ensembles. You can look at hurricane maps. You can also look at the teleconnections with El Nino and La Nina, which is like, Arctic oscillation, all that. So you pretty much got everything with WeatherBell, and I love it. I just got it within the last week, and I just love it. So you were asking what website I use. It's WeatherBell. Strongly recommend it too. Yeah, I'm watching Southern Oregon and Northern California into tomorrow. It's where some of these strongest winds are going to really pick on up. 40, 50 mile per hour gusts, higher than that in some of the higher elevations and mountain passes there. And remember, it's going to be pouring rain too. Some spots closer to 4 to 6 inches there in Northwest California. And now I'm just kind of rumbling at this point, okay? Because I've pretty much covered all the details I wanted to in this stream. I'm looking for questions in the chat, and I'm not getting any new ones. So if, leave a like on the stream, subscribe to the channel, but that's pretty much going to be the end of this stream, unless I get another question. If I start getting more questions, I'll stay on here a little longer. But yeah, hope that helped you, Project Gladiator. Again, everybody go check out Project Gladiator weather forecast. Unsure with the more long distance forecast, Project Gladiator. Yeah, I understand. Um, the CFS might not be the most 100% best thing to look at. To be honest with you, I have no problem um, if you just come on here and ask me if you want to know what these ensembles are showing. Like if you don't feel, you know, like you want to 100% go with any sort of ensembles on anything, you can always just ask me as well, kind of what they're showing. Um, but yeah, I mean, tropicaltidbits.com. If you go into the ensemble section there, I like their collection, and it doesn't go further, I think, than 384 hours out, so it's going to be a little bit more tame, and it's not going to be quite as far out. But ensembles, it's a collection of models, so it's something not to make bold statements with, but it's something to analyze, and especially if you see the trends in both the Euro and GFS ensembles, that's kind of makes things a little more interesting. Coldest week of the year for the Northeast. Oh, predicting the coldest week of what's going to be the coldest week of the year in the Northeast. That'd be an interesting thing to do. I can tell you where it's been the coldest so far. Let's see if we can do this here on Weather Bell. We probably can. And it's been a little while, or I haven't had this too long. Let's try doing the month to date. Where's that? Here we go. I'm looking at it, and as of now, Northeast has actually been warmer than average so far in January. But the minimum temperature anomaly, let's see when that was. Minimum. Wonder if the Ohio Valley will get any severe weather events this year. Yeah, I wouldn't rule that out. But yeah, it's been a pretty warm month in the northeastern United States, in comparison to average, even given any snowstorms that have happened there. Could be above average, possibly. Oh yeah, and that's just Weather Bell's address showing up on the top of the screen there. But yeah, that pretty much concludes it for this stream, everyone. I wish I could look at the weekly temperatures that have been happening in the Northeast so far so we could see where it's been the coldest. Definitely hasn't been this week. Probably last week it was. But yeah, it is getting cold there. One of the spots kind of keeping out of the warmer air for now is going to be in the Northeast. And then with time, the warmer air is going to shift there as we head towards, say, the 5th onward especially. And then it'll eventually get pushed out of there probably 10 days after that. Thank you, everyone, for joining me.